Hi, everybody. It is Justina, and I'm here continuing the Web3 class. In this class, we will be going over smart contracts. What are smart contracts? How do they work? And what is the utility? So let's jump in. So a smart contract is essentially a self-enforceable digital representation of a traditional contract. So what does that mean? Well, the idea was first introduced by Nick Szabo in 1994 to decrease the level of risk for contracting parties and has been very popularized by the Ethereum network, especially during the ICO craze. And what do I mean by all this? Well, to explain it to you, essentially, we already have contracts in the current ecosystem that are paper-based. But with digital contracts, a smart contract, when things are completed on either end, so for example, someone who wants to sell their house, they find a matching buyer. And then instead of having a lawyer disperse the funds, when one person has the funds there and the deed is transferred, the funds will automatically be transferred without the need for a third-party intervention. So the computer would actually check if the things have been completed. And then once the money has been sent over, the land record and the deed would be sent over to the other person. And that would be all recorded on the blockchain. So smart contracts are highly suited for financial services and banking, such as for payments and settlement of mortgages. Why is that? Well, if we look at current banking systems, you go to the bank and say you want your risk level to be evaluated, you want to collateralize the finances you have, it takes a lot of time. But currently online, and as you will learn in this class, what ends up happening is actually you can go and collateralize your funds immediately in DeFi with the money you have, and then borrow against the money that you currently have without the need for a third party to approve of it. It's just based on what is currently there. The downside, however, of this is for some people, it could be a high cost. And what do I mean by that? Well, for example, what happens is that, so what kind of use cases do we have? So collateral, bonding, deletion of property rights, etc. They can be embedded in the hardware and software we deal with in such a way as to make breach of contract expensive, if desired, sometimes prohibitively so for the breacher. So let's say you have a vending machine, right? And it's very difficult to steal from that machine. So what the smart contract is actually doing is it's making it expensive for someone to not comply with what's going on. And it can be automated. And what I mean by that, it's let's say someone rents a vehicle, and then if they don't comply and they go out of the state that they were supposed to go to, then the car will automatically shut off. So the cost to pay, and then they have to pay a very high towing fee or whatever, would be very difficult, and it's easily enforceable. So that's what I mean by it can make the cost of non-compliance very high. So in the case of a vending machine, if you would like to steal stuff from the vending machine, that would take so much effort and work that it's not even worth it for the person to be a bad actor. Or for example, let's say someone ends up having a car and then they they don't make payments on it. Well, that car could just be shut off, and they're no longer able to use that vehicle until the payment is made. So they are easier to enforce than the current contracts we have, and they're immutable. So the good thing is, if you're getting a deed to a land and you want money transferred, that's faster, simpler, and it's going to be on the blockchain. But in other areas, that could mean a very high price to people. And the other thing you can use, there's so many things you can use smart contracts for. What is really a smart contract could be such a broad range, because, for example, you can use a smart contract and eliminate the need for a website like Airbnb, because you and I could have the contract, and once I give you the keys, to my unit, you automatically have to give me the payment, and that's self-enforceable. Or if you're going for a ride, you're using Uber right now, in the future, if you're using a decentralized application, you don't need the third party anymore. And I could fully do a contract with you on the blockchain through our phones that is enforceable when we've all completed our side of the deal. Or for example, when you're buying an NFT, the transfer from the NFT from one user to the next is done on the blockchain, and the ownership gets changed. So if you pay the money, right, you get the ownership rights. And that's the same thing for real estate. So if you're going to buy a house, then what will happen is you're going to end up having to make those payments, and then you get the deed to the land, and you no longer need a lawyer who enforces this in trust because it is executed by code. So for example, when there was the craze many years ago and people wanted to buy tokens, those tokens were issued using smart contracts. And it's a completely different way of doing business that just allows for a different level of security that we haven't seen to date. Because currently the way that things are done is that we have to put our trust in people like lawyers. We have to put our trust in other third parties, websites, and they help us with the enforcement of the law. Whereas currently using a smart contract, it's using that digital, it's helping something else verify and validate if your funds are actually there, if that actually, someone's trying to sell you a car. How do you know it actually belongs to them? Well, using a smart contract, you can verify that, you can know that, and you can really see, and you can have that validation of the data without you having to do the work. Because let's say there's an algorithm that does it and it checks it. If you're buying a house, it's going into that particular information being looked up, and then that belongs to you. The title search is completed, the funds are checked, and then finally the transaction can occur. So we're in the emerging Web3 economy. This is going to continue to be used because it has so many use cases across the board. So thank you for joining me on this class, and I look forward to seeing you again.